Hello, and welcome back to Love Unbroken, the podcast where we explore real stories of relationships on the brink and the incredible strength it takes to bring them back. I'm your host, Mark. Today, we have a very special guest, Alara. Alara is here to share her story, a story that, sadly, touches on so many of the common pitfalls that can break a marriage. But more importantly, it's a story of redemption, hard work, and a love that was rekindled from the ashes. Alara, thank you for being so brave and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me, Mark. It's not easy to talk about, but if my story can help even one couple out there, it's worth it.
Let's dive right in. From your experience, what would you say was the biggest, most foundational issue?
Without a doubt, poor communication. It was the root that fed all the other problems. We stopped talking to each other and started talking at each other. We were roommates, not partners. My mistake was assuming he should just know what I was feeling. I'd give him the silent treatment instead of using my words. It created a huge wall between us.
And that lack of communication often leads to
Constant conflicts and unfair fighting. Oh, we fought. But it wasn't about solving the problem. It was about winning the argument. I'd bring up things from 5 years ago. I'd use words like, "you always," and "you never." It was destructive. My wrong way to solve it was to try and have the last word, to be the loudest. It failed miserably. It just made him shut down completely.
It sounds like that created a lot of resentment.
It did. And that resentment is a poison. It bled into everything, especially a lack of intimacy. And I don't just mean physical intimacy, though that suffered greatly. I mean the emotional intimacy, the holding hands, the inside jokes, the deep conversations. We lost that connection. My mistake was thinking the physical part would just magically return if he showed me more affection. But I wasn't meeting his emotional needs either. It was a vicious cycle.
When you feel that disconnected, it's easy to start looking elsewhere, isn't it?
That leads to infidelity. Now, in my case, it wasn't a physical affair, but I fell into the trap of an emotional affair. There was a man at work who was a good listener, and I started sharing my marital problems with him instead of my husband. It felt validating, but it was so wrong. It was a betrayal. My failed solution was to think, this is harmless, I just need a friend. But it was taking energy and emotion that should have been invested in fixing my marriage.
That's a powerful admission. Alongside that, financial stress is a huge marriage killer.
Absolutely. Financial problems and disagreements were a massive point of tension. We had the financial infidelity you hear about. I was hiding shopping bags and credit card statements. My mistake was being irresponsible and secretive. My wrong way to solve it was to spend more to feel better about the mess I was in. It was a lie that was slowly strangling our trust.
And with all that stress, it's understandable that
We had a lack of equality. I felt like I was carrying the entire mental load of the household, the kids' schedules, the cleaning, the planning, and I was drowning in resentment. But my mistake was not asking for help. It was nagging and keeping score. I did this, so you should do that. It made him feel like an employee, not a partner.
it seems like you both lost sight of the team.
We did. And that made us unrealistic expectations of each other. I had this fairy tale idea that he was supposed to be my everything and fulfill my every need. My mistake was expecting him to read my mind, and then being bitterly disappointed when he didn't. I was setting him up for failure.
And when you feel failed by your partner, you often turn to
Getting too close to our in-laws. I was constantly complaining about my husband to my mother. I was bringing a third party into our marriage. And of course, she took my side. It created an us versus him dynamic that was incredibly unfair and isolating for him.
What about addictions? Did that play a role?
We didn't have substance abuse, but we had different life priorities and addictions to other things. He was addicted to his work, and I was addicted to the validation I got on social media. We were both checked out, living parallel lives in the same house. We weren't growing together. We were growing apart.
And with that distance, I imagine trust issues appeared.
They were everywhere. Because of my financial secrecy and emotional affair, he couldn't trust me. And because he was always at work, I didn't trust his commitment to our family. We were a house of cards, and the slightest breeze would have knocked us over.
It sounds like you were both profoundly unhappy. Was there a final breaking point?
There was. After a huge fight about nothing, he said the words, "I don't know if I love you anymore." It was like the floor dropped out from under me. My first failed reaction was domestic violence, not physical, but I threw a plate against the wall. The shock of that sound, of seeing the broken pieces on the floor, was a mirror of our marriage. I knew then that my way, the anger, the silence, the blame had brought us here.
So, what did you do? How did you get it right?
I got on my knees and I begged for a chance. Not just from him, but from us. We made a choice. First, we committed to marriage counseling. It was there we learned to communicate without accusation. We learned to use "I feel" statements. We learned that it wasn't him versus me, it was the problem versus us.
A total mindset shift.
Exactly. We started dating again. We put our phones away. We dealt with our finances with complete transparency. We set boundaries with family. We prioritized us. It wasn't easy. It was the hardest work we've ever done. But slowly, the walls came down. The laughter returned. The touch returned.
And now, you promised a happy ending.
Laughed softly. Now, our marriage is stronger than it ever was before the breakdown. We've been to hell and back together. The fire was never out. It was just buried under a mountain of hurt, pride, and poor choices. We had to clear that away, and in doing so, we found a deeper, more resilient love. He is my best friend again. We choose each other every single day.
Mark, Ilara, thank you. Your testimony is a powerful reminder that while marriage can break, it can also be rebuilt with courage, honesty, and a whole lot of love. Thank you for sharing your unbroken love with us.
Thank you for listening.
That's all the time we have for today on Love Unbroken. Remember, it's never too late to choose each other again. Until next time, like and subscribe.